Hello and welcome back to another video. This time we are looking at XRP. We've not done an XRP video for a while, so if you've seen any of my videos before, I do like to mark out trend lines manually, and I can see these touch points as clear areas of interests. So let's break them down one by one. So obviously the first pump up or the high from December 2024, prices pulled back. So that is immediately apparent to me, but it's more apparent when in March, beginning of March, we've had some price reaction around that price point of $2.90. And then obviously the high of January of $3.42. And then we've got the support that's come into action on December the 10th. And we've had multiple touches in and around this line of, where are we in terms of price? Around the $1.96 mark. So if I look back as well, we can see that price has reacted. And this is why I like to draw manual trend lines, because it gives me an orientation without pulling any indicators up for comparison. But the power of EngineeringRobo AI is what I use to consider going into a trade or not. At the moment, we have an active AI sell signal in play, but we can't just trade using one signal on its own. If you've seen any of my other videos, I use the WATCH acronym, WATCH, and quite simply that is W stands for wallets, and the A stands for AI, T stands for trend line, C stands for the cloud, and we'll go through each of these in a moment, and this is for a high intelligence score. Each of these parameters, the indicator does give us a signal on each of these. Excuse my really bad writing with the paintbrush tool, but the watch framework allows me to orientate myself to make sure that I can enter a position by making sure that 3 out of these 5 confluences that the indicator can give us are true. So the first one was the wallet. So let's have a look at our dashboard to get an understanding to see what the position is for smart money. So the indicator itself tracks smart money, and that's the wallets. We can clearly see that all smart money is out at the moment. So we don't have a possible trade for wallets. A is the AI signal here. If we're looking bullish, I do believe we're still in a bull run. It's not an AI buy signal, so we can't really count on the AI signal becoming true. So we're going to put that as a cross. The T is for trend line, and although I've drawn horizontal trend lines, do we have a traditional trend line break at the moment? So if I draw one which goes from the high down to where price has actually come to, then we haven't. But really, if I draw a couple of trend lines which are actually touching, then we can say that there's no real trend line break in terms of price showing any signs of momentum. So right now, I'm not really convinced that there is any sort of trend line break at the moment. Maybe on a smaller time frame, we would need to have a closer look at this to understand if there is any trend line break whatsoever. So for a daily analysis in terms of a swing position, I am going to have to put a cross against the T. Now the C stands for the cloud. Let's switch on the cloud setting on EngineeringRobo AI. I'll keep the settings as I've got at the moment, and once I have loaded up the cloud, we can clearly see for this to be bullish, it needs to have shown an area of green that we are breaking into. And as we can see, it's actually below the red cloud. Again, not a great sign in terms of going long in XRP at the moment. And then the last one that I have on the acronym is the high intelligence score. And if you have seen my videos before, we always look for a green 4 or a 5, but we are pretty much red 5. So unfortunately for XRP on a daily time frame, we have no confidence in going long for XRP. So that's what we are looking at in terms of our signals. But another thing that the indicator does offer is, let me hide the dashboard, I'll hide the cloud just to kind of keep it up, clean it up a little bit. We'll keep the EngineeringRobo AI signal on, but the one thing that I do like to switch on are the orange support and resistance trend lines. So these trend lines are automatically drawn by the indicator, and it takes a mixture of fib extensions, previous price action, and where price has actually turned. So even though you can see my lines in yellow, which I've drawn manually, they're very close to the indicator, but the indicator is crunching through a number of different calculations to give us even a greater accuracy. And what the indicator is telling us is that this next price point of $1.87 is potentially an area that we would want to consider in terms of entering a position at the moment. Now, the next level down from there would be around the $1.23 price point. So right now, I would say if I bring up the price point label, which is, I think it's under this one. There we go, price point. So if I just put one here, $1.85, and then the same on this level here. These are the areas that we actually want to be looking at. I think it's a huge push for price to come back to the low that we were experiencing before of around 50 cents. I think between $1.24 and 185 is a buy for XRP. At the moment, there's no signs of us going long on XRP whatsoever on the daily time frame. And for completeness, let us check out what is happening on the smaller time frames. So I'll keep all the settings on as we have them at the moment. Let's have a quick look at the dashboard. Again, smart money is calculated from an overall score. We can see that the AI social intelligence score is a +3. So some positive sentiment across the socials is returning back to XRP. We have the smaller time frame also becoming bullish, and we have the 3-hour time frame, which we are currently on, being neutral. That means that it's actually switching from a bearish setup, potentially going back to bullish. So that's something to bear in mind. I also want to see if we've got any buy or sell signal on the 3-hour time frame. We don't currently have that. So I do want to switch on the orange support and resistance line, because that does give us a better indication to see where and how price could potentially react. Again, the cloud, we're still very much in the thick of the cloud. We do want the cloud to pinch and then show some green before us considering going long here. So let me switch off the cloud setting and make sure that we've got a bit of a cleaner perspective. And whilst that's doing that, I'll do some price point with the price note on the levels that we're actually looking at here. So for XRP on the 3-hour time frame, which would go bullish before the daily, we are still looking around the $1.80 as a very key level for XRP to remain bullish. If it was to drop and go lower, then we can see that we will probably lose that support and be heading for much lower prices. So right now, again, we do not have any on the 3-hour time frame. Our wallets are still out because that's judged collectively across all of the time frames. We don't yet have an AI signal. I didn't do a trendline break, but we don't have the cloud. We do have a higher intelligence score. Ideally, we would want 4, but we do have a positive green. And for completeness, let's see where we are in terms of any trendline breaks on this time frame. So let me just bring that up. So for me at the moment, we have got horizontal and horizontal lines here, no real trendline breaks at the moment. Price is consolidating, so I would still like to see price break above $2.25 and then come back and then go much higher. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back with another one. See you again very soon.